Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to do a quick checkup on Destiny 2's only exotic 180 RPM hand cannon, Malfeasance. As you may or may not know, this weapon got a buff with the 30th anniversary content drop. The explosion damage, proc by landing 5 shots on a single target, was increased by 50%. And really, even before the buff, Malfeasance's damage output was pretty respectable. So I was interested to run the damage numbers again in PvE, get a sense of where it's at now, and stack it up against a few other weapons. But I was also curious to see if this change affected the weapon in PvP in any way. In a general sense, more explosion damage on that side of the game wouldn't make a whole lot of difference. But perhaps against roaming supers it could be a bit more effective. We'll have to see. And I do have a few bugs that I want to highlight toward the end of the video. They're not necessarily new bugs, but they're ones that I didn't pick up on or that I didn't highlight in either of my previous 2 Malfeasance reviews. So I'll note and explain those as well. But let's get rolling on some damage numbers. Versus Carl, my preferred testing dummy, Malfeasance crits for 3307 and scores 2205 to the body. For every 5th round that lands, crit or body shot, it's going to cause the last 5 bullets to detonate. Each of those 5 detonations is going to yield 3,394 points of damage, exceeding that of a crit. This puts the maximum damage within a single magazine at 134,020 points of damage. The time to fire off all 20 rounds is 6.615 seconds. This puts the single mag damage per second at 20,260. For a primary weapon, that's solid. For a basis of comparison though, I'm just going to throw it to the wolves and weigh it against 2 heavy hitters in terms of exotic hand cannons. First, Thorn. I am going to give it the benefit of Soul Devourer. Being a 140 RPM hand cannon, the crit's going to score 4,047 points of damage. This is accompanied by 4 poison ticks, scoring 1,393 points of damage apiece. We're looking at a 9-round magazine with a maximum damage output of 86,571. The time to empty is 3.426 seconds, single mag damage per second, 25,269. Next up, Hawkmoon, another 140, so base crit 4,047 points of damage. But on the final round, when Paracausal Charge is built up to 7x, it's going to register 74,307. So first 8 shots at 4,047 total up to 32,592. Add on that 74,307 for the big caca, and that's a total of 106,683 points of damage in a single magazine. Time to empty is the same as Thorn, 3.426 seconds. Single mag damage per second, 31,139. So Malfeasance is not going to outright best Thorn or Hawkmoon in the single target damage department. But there are a few things to consider. Both Thorn and Hawkmoon's damage do ride on contingencies. With Thorn, to really maximize its damage numbers, you first need to kill an ad, pick up the remnant, and then you're limited by a 7-second window to make use of the buff. If there are no ads left to kill in a given encounter, its maximum single mag damage falls to 53,163, and the single mag DPS sinks to 15,518. With Hawkmoon, provided you have the catalyst unlocked, 7 of your first 8 bullets need to land as crits, and you cannot whiff that 9th round. Over 2/3 of the weapon's single mag damage relies on that paracausal shot. You miss that bullet, you get flinched off your shot, the damage tanks. With Malfeasance, all you really need to do is drown the target in bullets. Even if you get a little bit inaccurate, the world's not going to come crashing down around you. I mean, even if you're a lot inaccurate and land 20 straight body shots, you're still outputting almost 112,000 points of damage in this case. And your single mag damage per second only slips by about 3,000 points to just under 17,000. And don't forget about the Taken Predator perk on Malfeasance either, allowing it to deal a flat 25% more damage to Taken enemies. And FYI, this will also proc against targets that are struck by Witherhorde. So if you want to see the damage numbers versus a theoretical Taken version of Carl, here you go. Maximum single mag damage would move up to 167,525, and the single mag damage per second climbs to 25,325. So I'd say that 50% explosion damage buff is treating Malfeasance pretty darn well in PvE. But in terms of PvP, does the damage increase apply on this side of the game as well? Yes it does. Previously versus opposing Guardians, the explosion was registering 30 points of damage. Now we're seeing 45. Now, this is not going to affect the optimal or body shot time to kill in any way. It's still 3 crits in 1 body in 1 second to hit the optimal, and 5 body shots in 1.33 seconds with the explosion cleaning things up. But the 50% damage increase on those explosions can prove useful. They will deal collateral damage even though the blast radius is very tight. Previously, when they were doing 30 points of damage, the blast alone could not down a secondary target. 30 times 5, 150. Not quite enough. 45 times 5, 225. That'll definitely do it. Now, the enemy players might need to be sharing the same pair of boots, but the potential is there for a pure collateral kill. Versus roaming supers though, the buff made Malfeasance much more effective. Previously, it could down a roaming super with 5 shots, but 4 of those 5 bullets needed to hit the head, which was a big ask given the speed and mobility of some roaming supers. Now, all you have to do is land 5 body shots. 5 bullets land and you will drop that roaming super full stop. You can stand your ground with a 180 RPM hand cannon and have a really good shot of coming out on top, especially versus the non-projectile based supers. So even if you're someone who doesn't prefer using Malfeasance in PvP because of that 180 RPM hand cannon damage profile, it might be a good weapon to at least keep at the ready, especially in a game mode like Trials. If you know the enemy team has some supers coming up in the next round, it might not be a bad weapon to swap to deal with them more effectively. But hey, just a suggestion, some food for thought. One last game mode to investigate, Gambit, since Taken Predator does increase damage versus invaders. Not when you're invading, just versus invaders. And it actually does a lot more damage. 62 to the body and 92 on a crit. That's almost a 60% damage increase. So even through the invader's overshield, 3 crits can down the target. Or if you prefer, 5 body shots will finish him off. So that 50% explosive damage buff, kind of a non-factor. But hey, it's still an extremely useful weapon for Gambit. And a few additional notes about some bugs and odd behaviors from Malfeasance. Regarding Gambit, the improved damage numbers versus invaders don't always seem to register correctly. And I really couldn't figure out why, but it happened consistently enough to be concerning. Oftentimes they would hit with that 60% damage increase, but sometimes the shots would register at base value. So there definitely seems to be some consistency issues here that you should at least keep in the back of your mind. Next bug, sometimes when spawning into an area or activity, I noticed my energy weapon was in hand by default. Usually it's our kinetic. And then when swapping over to Malfeasance, I noticed that the magazine was completely empty. No bullets in the gun. This doesn't happen every time, but it does seem to happen more frequently when loading into a Gambit match. I couldn't get to the bottom of it, it's an odd bug. Nothing more than an annoyance really, but still odd. Last one, and this has been ongoing for a while. I don't know if you want to call it a bug or a hidden perk, but when you secure a final blow on a target that has some Malfeasance rounds buried in it, those rounds will detonate on kill. This isn't highlighted anywhere in the intrinsic trait or the Taken Predator perk description, but it is giving the weapon a pseudo dragonfly effect. Even if you secure that kill with an ability or a different weapon, or if a teammate ends up securing that kill, any slugs buried in that target are gonna detonate. So it's kind of a nice little bonus feature. But that's all I got for you today. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to leave it a like, and consider subscribing to the channel if you'd like to catch more of my upcoming Destiny 2 content. Leave any thoughts down in the comments, and check out the Ironworker Gaming Discord link in the video description if you want to join a great community full of awesome Guardians. And with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out this video. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you on the next one.